Good morning and welcome to the Petitti Pro Garden Show. Thank you all so much for getting up early and being with us, like always, on our Saturday mornings right here on 95.9 The Light. So we finally got some rain, and a lot has been going on because of little rain in our gardens and in our container plantings. So we're going to talk a lot about that and what it all means and the steps that we need to take to prevent problems from escalating and how to nip them in the bud real quickly. So we're going to talk about all of that and about what's going on around town and in our gardens and in our landscapes. So sit back, grab your coffee, and we're going to be able to answer all of those questions that you have called in or stopped in this week and ask us. Now, if you have questions and you aren't one that have already gotten us your questions and you would like to ask your questions to us, you can give us a call at the store at 330-455-5997, or you can email me at Cindy Petitti, that's CindyPetitti at gmail.com, and we will make sure that your questions get answered, or better yet, stop into the store and see me. Bring a limb or a twig or a branch, something that has the issue with you, or you can take photos and bring me your photos, and we can answer your questions, and you can bring them to us at the store at 5828 Columbus Road. We are right on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway in Nimishillen Township. Zip code is 44641 if you're Google mapping it. So we have a Louisville address, but we are in the township, very close to Plain Township, not far from Lake Township, Marlborough Township, Paris Township. So you can all get to us very easily. We have folks coming from all over the state to get their organic plants at our greenhouse. So if you have a question and you're local, please bring us your questions. We want to make sure that we answer them all for you. Last week we were at the Canton Farmers Market, and we were also at Fisher Foods answering questions and doing a seminar on organic gardening. So we want to thank them for having us as their guest. And there's so much going on throughout the summer. So we keep up on our Facebook page, and then you'll be able to find out where we have things going on and where we'll be at different events. So we invite you all to come to all of those events and visit us. I know that Fisher's will be having another health fair in July at their Cleveland Avenue store, and we will be there also. So make sure that you check both of us out on your Facebook page, and then you'll know when things are going on. Well, so we're going to start off with berry questions. And berries, meaning raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, even grapes. So the question was, can I still plant them and get a crop this year? Okay. Well, it's really not going to matter if you plant them this year or not. It depends on how old the plant is. So if you are buying a plant that was really, really tiny, you probably won't get blueberries or raspberries this year. If the plant is of some substantial size and age, yes, you will get berries this year. Possibly they'll have berries on them when you purchase them from your local independent garden center. And when you plant them, you just probably won't disturb their root system very vigorously, but slightly if they have berries on them before you plant. So what you'll want to do is dig your hole. If your soil is very good, then you'll just put your plant down in the hole, slightly higher than grade. Disturb that root system slightly before putting it in, and then backfill. If your soil is compact, heavy clay, those kind of conditions, you're going to want to throw away half of the soil from the hole that you're digging. Put it in your compost pile, and as the compost is decomposing, it will work on that soil and make it good again. And then the other part that you take out of the hole, put it in a wheelbarrow and then mix in some good soil amendments like the Bull Country compost or the sweet peat compost. And you can mix that together and then use that as your backfill. And like I said, if you're planting at this time of the year and there are berries on the plant, you don't want to disturb greatly, just slightly. That way that plant will go ahead and take off. Now, if you are still finding strawberry plants, which they are few and far between, I'm sure, we are completely out. They might have 1 or 2 strawberries on them. Most of the time, probably not any strawberries. And usually your grape plants won't have grapes either unless they are quite old, and you're going to find those in a larger pot. So you can go ahead and disturb that root system. Now, anytime you're planting in the summertime, so here we are, this past Monday, summer began. So we are into summer, and especially in the summer that is dry. Now, we did have a really nice rain on Wednesday night, and Thursday part of the day, we still had some showers going on. So we're not too dry today, but we were really dry prior to that. So if you're planting and it continues to be a dry summer and we're only getting a rain every 2 or 3 weeks, you just want to make sure, and this is for your berries, and then we're going to go ahead and extend this into trees and shrubs. And it's sort of our next question, comment is about trees and shrubs, rhododendrons and azaleas specifically. But when you're doing your planting in the summertime, when we're having a dry spell, you just need to make sure that you're going to be home and be able to do some watering. You don't want to be planting these things and then leaving on vacation for, 2 months or even 5 days and not going to have someone watering them for you. So if you are planting right now, you want to make sure that if we don't have a good hard rain, that for the first entire week, you water every other day, a good soaking to the plant. And a good soaking is going to be depending on the size of the pot. So if the plant was in a 1-gallon pot, 2 gallons of water every other day for that first week is going to be enough. And then go up your water according to the size of pot that the plant was, so that according to how much soil was in that pot, that's how you're going to water it. Now, you don't want to, someone came into the store the other day and said that someone planted some arborvitaes for them that were in a 3-gallon pot, and they told them to hold a hose at full speed on the plant for 5 minutes each plant. That is too much water because they told them to do it every day for an entire week. That's too much water, and you're going to drown your arborvitaes in that case. So you want to make sure that you're giving the plant adequate water to teach the root system to go deep, but you don't want to drown them. So every other day is going to be better probably than every day. Unless it's grass, and grass we talked about a couple weeks ago. You're going to want to do that every day. So if you're doing some seeding every day for the first week, but a shrub or a plant, you're going to want to do every other day, but you want to give it a really good soaking. And also, which sort of leads us to that next question comment with the rhododendrons and azaleas, folks have been asking if the rhododendrons and azaleas all quit blooming just recently, and they were beautiful and everybody wanted them when they were blooming. But if you weren't able to get one, we did get a new shipment of rhododendrons and azaleas in a multitude of colors. And so the question is, so if you plant now, after they're done blooming, and the ones that we have also are finished blooming, or if you're buying them at another independent garden center, they're probably going to be done blooming. So once you get them planted, should you be fertilizing? Because normally we suggest fertilizing in the spring and in the fall. But if you're fertilizing, if you're planting right now, we do recommend that you fertilize when you plant. And that's going to help that root system take off. A good fertilizer is Hollytone for your rhododendrons and azaleas. So that's going to be your go-to for that. Also, Hollytone is a very good fertilizer for your berry bushes because they do like the soil slightly acidic also. Now remember, for your blueberries, the Hollytone is a good food for it, but not enough for the blueberries. They really need a very acidic soil, so they're going to need the hollytone for all of their nutrients and their minerals, but they are going to need the soil acidifier to change the pH to get that acidity low enough in the soil so that you have nice berries and nice looking plants. But for your rhododendrons and azaleas, your Paris japonicas, your hydrangeas, your dogwoods, and your evergreens that you're going to use your hollytone on, the hollytone is enough fertilizer for it. They don't need anything else. And you do want to fertilize when you plant. That root system needs to be disturbed, and you're going to treat the soil the same. You're going to throw away half of it if your soil is really bad, and mix it with a soil amendment like the Bull Country compost or the sweet peat compost. Both of them can also be used as mulch around the top of the plant once your planting is finished, but you do want to make sure that you put that hollytone down. That's going to feed that root system to help that root system take off during that beginning stages and get it really established in. And then after your first week of watering every other day, then you'll go to every third day. And then on the third week, you're going to go to about every 4 days. Again, the same amount of water. You're going to really douse it good because you want to teach that root system to go deep. So that's going to be a great way to get those plants established. Like I said, we did get a new shipment of landscape plants in last week, and we have a beautiful selection. We also got some great trees in. So if you're looking for some trees and shrubs, a lot of garden centers and plant huts and different things like that are closing up right now. We just got this new wonderful shipment of fresh product in. So if you're looking to do some re-landscaping, we also will help you get that designed correctly so that it looks like a professional landscaper came in and did it for you. Now, the next question that we had, again, was about watering and it being so dry. And their question was, I have containers. They seem to be drying out twice a day. Should I water them that much, or am I overwatering? And yes, you probably do, in some cases, need to water them twice a day. The key is morning watering, and I can't stress this enough. So many people, they get up in the morning and they're running to work and they're busy, and so they don't think about watering their plants in the morning. And so when they get home from work, everything is stressed. And a lot of times things are wilting over, even in the ground. They're wilting over in pots especially, because that peat moss dries out more quickly than soil. But remember, if you put that soil in your containers, you're really going to end up with a disaster. So you want to make sure that you are only using a peat-based potting mix in your containers. But that morning watering, so set your clock 15 minutes earlier, get up a few minutes early and water your plants in the mornings. It's so much healthier for them. So water in the morning so they don't stress all day, and then you have to douse them with water at night. And then in the evening when you come home, just a short little drink is going to be enough for them. And then that would be the time that you wanted to go ahead and fertilize. You can give them that fertilizer about once a week. Once every 10 days is going to be enough, and that's going to keep everyone blooming nicely and looking like it just came out of the greenhouse. Remember also, as they're growing, it's not a bad idea every 3 or 4 weeks to trim off a little bit at the bottom. That way it won't be pulling and so heavy, so the center of the plant continues to look good and everything will continue to look really, really nicely there. But you are going to need to water more often when we're having a dry year. Also, when we are having a dry year and you're watering so much, especially in your containers, the water leaches out all of your nutrients. So you're going to want to fertilize on probably that every 7 day instead of the every 10 day in your containers, because you're watering so much, up to twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day if it's in an area where it gets a breeze plus the sun. Your nutrients are going to leach out of that pot more quickly, and to keep your plants looking tip-top shape, you are going to want to fertilize them about once a week. So you want to keep that in mind as well. Now, the next question that we had was about container vegetables. And we still have vegetables at the greenhouse. We have them all on sale still. We have a season end on vegetables and flats and 4-inch flowering material. So you can come in, buy a full flat of vegetables for $10. You can get your 4-inch plants, all the 4-inch flowering annuals for $2.99. And if you only need a couple plants, we sell them by the tray also for $1.50. So you can still do it, but these are a couple things to keep in mind, and that's what this question was. I didn't get a garden planted, so now I'm only going to do a few containers. Is it too late to do that? And what you want to keep in mind is if you are doing containers, you want to plant plants that do well in containers. You're not going to do corn, okay? You're not going to probably do a whole lot of broccoli or cauliflower because in a container, you're only going to get about 1 head. So if you want to just do it as some fun thing, 1 head of cauliflower, 1 head of broccoli in a container, yes, by all means, you can do it. But if you want to have more harvest for your bang for your buck, we'll say, you want to go with your tomatoes, your cucumbers even, your zucchini, your green beans, peppers. Those things do really well in containers. But there's a couple things to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you stake at the time of planting in your containers because these plants are going to be bigger to start with. And which is good because you want to get a harvest going very soon. The other thing is on your viners, stick with a cucumber that is like a Space Master that's not going to spread out so much and it's going to stay contained in your container and it will do very well for you. Also with your zucchini, there are some nice bush zucchini. They're going to be great for you as well in a container. And if you want to still plant zucchini by seed in the ground, there's a couple things that you want to keep in mind. We just had someone in on Thursday morning and he's like, I've tried seeds 2 times and I'm not having any luck. What should I do? And I told him, if you're planting in the ground this late, it's a good idea when you dig your hole to put potting soil in the bottom of your hole, put the seed in and cover it only with potting soil. And keep it, watered, especially since we're so dry. It's going to germinate so much more quickly in potting mix than it will in earth because the earth is so heavy. And after you have germination, then you can bring up a little bit of the soil, the earth, around the plant at that time. And then that will help hold the moisture down in. But while that seed is germinating, that's why so many times, you buy your plants from a greenhouse. And if you notice, everything that's in those flats is potting soil. It's because we use potting soil to make the seeds germinate so much more quickly. And they grow very fast in that potting mix. So if you're starting your seed in the ground right now, do that little trick. Put the potting soil down in the hole that you have dug, put the seed in, and only cover it with the potting mix and water it good. And you will have much quicker germination, and then you will still be able to have some zucchini. But if we're going to go back to the pot and you are going to do your container, it's a very good idea because then if your harvest is running late, you have it in a container and you can pull it under the awning of your house, under the porch, and still be able to have a nice harvest. Even if we are having some frosted nights, you can keep that plant protected and you'll be able to, still have some nice garden that you have grown yourself. And tomatoes do wonderfully that way. Remember, basil is one that if you are planting and you have it in a container, and when the temperatures do start to cool off, you're going to want to pull that one all the way in the house at night because it doesn't like under 45 degrees. Now, most of your other things are going to do fine, much cooler than that. But remember your basil. If you have it in a container, you're going to want to bring it in the house when the evenings start to reach around that 45 to 50 degree nighttime temperatures so that it lasts a lot longer for you. And then you're going to have much better conditions there. Now, the next question that we had was about powdery mildew. And powdery mildew is definitely an issue. So we're going to give you a little bit of information about the store while you all run and grab your paper and pen, because a lot of these things you're probably going to want to write down. So while you do that, we're going to tell you how you can have your questions answered. You can give us a call at the store at 330-455-5997, or you can email me at cindypetitti@gmail.com. That's CINDYPETITTI@gmail.com. Or better yet, stop into the store and visit me or Sarah, and we will hopefully be able to answer your questions at 5828 Columbus Road in Louisville. We're in Nimishillen Township, right on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway. So let's hope that gave you enough time to grab your pen and pencils, and we are going to talk about powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is an issue on so many plants, but so many people is having questions about it this year because they're saying, we don't understand. We're so dry. We haven't had any rain. Why do I still have powdery mildew? Well, even though it's dry and we haven't had a lot of rain, it's still been humid. And powdery mildew spores can stay in our soil and also in different leaves and will lay around from previous years, especially on a year when we had such a mild winter. So because of that mild winter, we are dealing with those issues. And we've talked about this several times throughout the season so far. The mild winter was going to cause us some problems, and it has. So we are dealing with an excessive amount of insects this year. We are dealing with powdery mildew early. A lot of times we don't deal with powdery mildew until we are having very, very humid conditions later into July. And here we are still in June dealing with these humid conditions. So we always have humid conditions in the greenhouse. So we're always battling powdery mildew. So we do preventative things all the time. And that's what the key is. Know that powdery mildew is going to be an issue if you are growing tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, squashes. Any of those things get powdery mildew. So doing some preventative spraying with an organic fungicide is going to be the route to go. There's a product called Disease Destroyer. It's OMRI certified, and it is an essential oil-based cinnamon oil, fabulous smelling product, and it is a great preventer. So if you are afraid that you're going to have these issues, then using this as a preventative spray is definitely going to save you stress, and it will save you time, and it will save your harvest. So the Disease Destroyer, you can mix it up and put it in a pump-up sprayer, or you can just a handheld ready-to-use sprayer and spray those plants on a regular basis, about every 3 weeks or after a really, really hard rain, and you will be able to prevent this. The other few tips that you want to keep in mind is if a leaf starts to turn yellow because of age or because of a nutrient deficiency, plucking that off is key. It's going to save you from diseases and insects. So pluck that off. If you notice a disease on that leaf, be it a cucumber leaf or a zucchini leaf or a tomato leaf, you want to dip your scissors in some vinegar or some lemon juice or some peroxide, and that's going to kill the spores that's on your snips, whatever type of snips you're using. Be Pampered Chef kitchen shears that y'all know I love so much, or your pair of bypass pruners, or maybe a pair of scissors is what you use. Maybe you're using a pair of bonsai scissors to trim these type of leaves off. They work very well also. When you're trimming off these leaves that look maybe at first just to be a nutrient deficiency, and you snip them off and then you notice some disease, really pay attention to that, because you want to make sure that you are cleaning those before you move to the next leaf, or you will travel that disease with you. And remember to spray with the Disease Destroyer, and it will help you prevent those diseases. Remember to keep your plants good and healthy by fertilizing them and taking care of them. It's going to do wonderful, wonderful things to your plants. They're going to produce better. Remember, you feed your plants to keep them healthy, not so that they grow. You feed them to keep them healthy, and that's your landscape plants as well as your vegetable gardening plants. And everyone is going to need more food this year because of that extra watering that we're doing, and they're going to do much better for you. Remember, container gardening can make your life a lot easier, but sometimes you will have to fertilize a little bit more. But there's not as much bending over if you have arthritis, or if you are just aging and you don't want to be bending over, or maybe you don't have room for a garden and containers work best for you. That's the route to go. But remember, you are going to need to do a little bit more fertilizing when you're watering so often. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask us, and we will make sure that you get all of the answers. We are open today until 4 o'clock, tomorrow from 11 to 3, and Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. We will be open through the 3rd of July on Sundays, so you can see us then. After that, we will be closed on Sundays throughout the rest of the summer. We want to thank you all so much for listening. Remember to ask us your questions. We will answer them to the best of our ability. You all have a wonderful week, and thanks so much.